You're listening to the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the place where you, as a dad, will gain more tools for your fathering toolbox, and where moms and daughters are also invited to listen into the conversation. Now, here is your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dad Whisperer podcast. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, your host, and I'm so honored that you're joining me here again today, especially if you're a dad who wants to add more tools to your fathering toolbox. You know the grid I use every week. Okay, say it with me. On your mark, get set, go. So, Dad, you're standing there getting ready to run your fathering race this week. I'm on the sidelines as your coach, cheering you on and saying, on your mark, get set, go. Well, today I have a guest coach joining me that has joined me in the past. And if you have ever heard of Jeff Zaugg, I guarantee you will not forget his name or his enthusiasm. I told him today before we started recording, God broke the mold when he made him. This is a man who has more passion in his little pinky than most of us will have in a lifetime. But what that tells me is Jeff is a man of conviction and he is a man of action. And if you're a dad that wants more conviction and more action, you are going to love this conversation today. Well, let me tell you about him. Like I said, he's high energy, high impact. He walks his talk. That's essentially what I'm saying. I would not have him here on the podcast if I didn't respect his life that backs up his lip. He's a man of integrity, I promise you. And in a day and age where I think we're seeing some leaders fall off the platforms, I want you to know that I bring people onto this podcast who really do, as I just said, walk their talk. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about him. He's just written his very first book. It just came out last week. It's titled Dad Awesome. Again, the name of his ministry, subtitle, Dad Discoveries to Activate Awesomeness. He spent 10 years in entrepreneurial nonprofit ministry leadership and also served as a pastor in the Twin Cities for 7 years. Then in the fall of 2020, he took a leap, went full-time into fatherhood ministry, and that's when he founded Dad Awesome. After one singular question grabbed his heart. You want to hear what it is, men? Here it is. How do you stay motivated as a dad? If you've ever asked that or maybe thought it, you know that you're going to hear answers to that question from Jeff today. That question sparked 400 plus podcasts. Yes, Dad Awesome is the name of his podcast. And these conversations helped really activate a mission to help fathers move from autopilot to prayerfully intentional. Let me tell you one other fun thing about him. And he was in the middle of this trek last time I had him on the podcast a few years ago. He spent over 550 nights in an RV with his family, traveling the U.S., where he's had countless, listen to this, campfire conversations, which means he's in the trenches with dads, having real conversations about real life and real struggles and real vision. He's led 10 fatherhood coaching cohorts, so you may want to be a part of that. He's also had 30 activation events with more than 1,000 men engaged around the country, which has culminated in Jeff building a community of dads who live from the love of their Heavenly Father and pour love into their families. Jeff and his wife, Michelle, live in Florida near the beach, where they raise their 4 beautiful, lively, adorable, energetic daughters, whom I just happen to adore, by the way. They're between the ages of 4 and 12. So if you're a dad with young daughters, again, Jeff is speaking to you because he's right there with you, championing you on in your role as a dad, building a foundation that will last for the rest of their lives. And when he's not cheering for dads, you'll find him surfing with his girls, building epic backyard rope swings, or on a date with his wife, Michelle. Welcome, Jeff Zaugg.
Wow, Michelle, I am so excited. I've been so excited for weeks knowing that we get to connect again. And I just love your heart, your mission, the way for long, 10 years of your podcast. And then, love you and your husband. So thanks for having me.
Oh, and I love that even in your book, you quoted Ken. I love that you and Ken are heart friends and that you and I are as well. So it's rare to be a woman, right, in the fathering lane. And yet I've been encouraged by you saying, you belong here. Like we are on the same page. Let's do it. Well, today for On Your Mark, I have titled this, not that creative necessarily, because it's just a take on your book title, 6 Discoveries to Activate GirlDad Awesomeness. How's that for a great title?
I love it.
You came up with it. I just inserted girl dad. But okay, first, give me the updates on your girls. Tell everybody their ages and whatever you want us to know about their awesomeness.
Yes, well, I'm treasuring this current chapter, and I probably would have told you that 3 years ago when we were hanging out. I this moment of time, 12 years old is my oldest, down to 4 is my youngest. My 4-year-old's about to turn 5, so we're in this precious season where all of a sudden I'm spending a little less time getting the girls dressed, or a little less time getting their shoes on, and more time adventuring. And you even mentioned a few of the things. We are so grateful to have relocated out of the RV into a home. So we have a yard, and we're doing rope swings, we're doing adventures, we're lots of scootering, kickball, Foursquare, the beach. Like we're just in a season of fun, but most of it's beyond my 4 girls. They're new friendships because we've lived here for 2 years, and it feels like there's always another family joining in the fun. And we just added a van to our family. We were praying for a long time about a next vehicle. We bought a 15-passenger van.
What?
And our friends are like, what are you doing? You're a family of 6. Why would you need 15 passengers? And it truly is our hearts as a family. We love shared adventure, and it's giving me proximity to see all this interaction of my girls and their friends versus if we were carpooling 2 separate vehicles with, the girls with their friends. So it's been this, and this is just 2 weeks into having the 15. We call it Van Awesome. Van Awesome is our new vehicle. And so that's just a little sliver of our current world. And I'm loving the dad life. Also though, I feel like dad life is more challenging today than it was 2 years ago. It's harder today than it was 8 years ago. It's I'm struggling more and asking for forgiveness more today than even a year ago. So I actually, as much as I'm loving this chapter, it's the hardest chapter yet as well. So it's both.
And do you mean because the girls are aging and so they're in different stages of their own development that either maybe trigger you or cause different reactions, or what?
Yeah, it's complex. I think all as dads, often when things get complex, we either try to just push it down, push it away and say, I'm okay. I'm just going to push it over here and not deal with it. And the complexity for me today is I'm still trying to parent my 12-year-old like I parented her when she was 9. I still am, I'm brand new at this. And there's different emotions at play today. There's different strength and confidence. Her level of brilliance in the way that she's seen me make decisions for our family. And she's pushing back in ways she hasn't in the past because she's brilliant and beautiful. And I'm struggling in my reactiveness. Last night, I had to apologize. I responded and reacted from a place instead of steadiness and calm, from a place of impatience, and I was really annoyed. And so I have found myself more sharp and needing to go back and mend than ever before because I'm bumping up against new challenges, new moments, new levels of strength. And it's amazing because it cascades. When my oldest daughter and I are starting to things are a little bit off, and there's maybe the tenderness that I usually feel like is steady. All of a sudden I'm I'm getting chippy with her. It cascades, and all of a sudden I have to go back and repair with my other girls because it affects my relationships with them. So as I release a book called Dad Awesome, I'm feeling today like, God help me, because I need to press in and keep growing and keep adding more skills myself.
Yeah, and as your girls grow and develop, you have an opportunity to grow and develop, or like you said, stay back and parent like you did before, which never works. If you want to raise and launch healthy daughters, and we're saying this to all men, you're going to have to grow up with them, whether you like it or not, or the divide will happen, won't it?
It's it. And we play around with DA, Dad Awesome, Dad Average, Dad Annoyed, Dad Angry. Okay,
Dad Aware? Are you aware of the responses?
Yes. Michelle, Dad Aware is so good.
How aware are you of your own triggers? How aware are you of your own facial expressions and body language and tone?
So. And what's upstream right now that gives me the fuel that helps me bring my full heart to my girls. And
Yeah.
I have to be more aware today of what's
Yes.
upstream. I mentioned to you even a time of prayer this morning that I'm
Yeah.
praying
I
declarations
love
over my
that.
family. I'm praying like with more, I'm actually guarding distractions more than ever because I have to, because I need more strength today than I needed when they were younger. I'm actually more focused on building friendships today, not actually
Yeah.
high time intensity, but high, like, man, I need deeper friendships. So I'm going to build in strategic moments so I can have strength. There's all these factors that are more needed today than I feel like they were in the last chapter of dad life.
Well, let's even just start with that question before we get into the 6 discoveries. Is Jeff, like I said, everyone listening can tell you're high energy, high impact, and you want to bring people along with you in the adventure. What do you say to the dad that says, I'm actually not that motivated, or I've been
Mhm.
kicked down so many times where there's divorce and there's been more rupture than repair, and just going, I hear you, brother, but I'm never going to be you.
Yeah.
What do you
So
say to that dad?
the stakes are what I want to share is I have had conversations for 8 years every single week, and most of them are conversations with older dads who have launched their kids and are in a different, like, so I interview a lot of dads who are in the chapter ahead of me, and
Mhm.
these dads, especially the ones in their 70s and 80s, I've had this treasure of talking to dads in the older chapter. They would say there's a treasure in the field, right? The biblical principle there of there's a treasure, and we want to focus today. If I have a firm view, a firm grip on what the future is going to look like, I want to put focus on the things today that have the biggest payoff down the road. So the analogy here is I was gifted $40,000 as a junior high student for my grandpa to use for college. They were savings bonds to use for college. They
Okay.
matured to $60,000 when I cashed them in. So these savings bonds, what a gift. He paid for like 3/4 of my college back in the early 2000s. And so in 2002, I cashed them in. So 2002 is 24 years ago. 24 years ago, I cashed these bonds in, paid for the majority of college. If I would have just taken student loans in 2002 and put $60,000 into Apple stock, if I would have put it into Apple
Are you
stock in
kidding me? Yeah.
2002, today, $40 million. $40
No.
million. 60,000 turns into 600 times return. Now, every single dad, grandpa, great grandpa in their 70s and 80s would say, I have the Apple stock prediction. I have the Marty McFly sports almanac. I'll
Yeah.
tell you where to put your investment today. The compounding interest
Uh-huh.
is choose to be a dad who grows. I am a dad who is going to learn and grow. And I want to applaud this, Michelle. Your audience, the dads listening today are already choosing. I am a dad who is growing. I am not stalled. I am not dad absent.
Yeah.
I am not dad unaware. Like, I am actually going to press in
Yeah.
and grow. And just by doing that alone, you are seeding the Apple stock of I'm going to grow. I'm going to learn. I'm going to press in versus give up. And so
Right.
I just want to applaud. You have the $40 million payoff coming if you just
Yeah.
stay with this posture. Stay with this posture.
Come on. Well, if you want to hear more about Jeff's heart and these kinds of stories, his book that just came out last week, I encourage you to get it. Go to any platform. You can find it online. You can find it everywhere. You can go to his website, which put it here on the front. What's your website?
Yeah, just dadawesome.org, O-R-G.
.org. And you can get the book where he has QR codes all the way through it that sync with all of the different people he's quoting that have podcast connections to him. He's got, and at the end of every chapter, you got the Dad Awesome Lab with another QR code with experiments, discussion questions. You can lead other dads in this. If you like stories, Jeff has got them. If you like biblical analogies, Jeff has got them. If you want raw and real vulnerability, it's in there. Action steps in there. So I really am going to be one of the promoters of your book. I promise you, because I so believe in you and I believe in your message. Well, okay, let's get on with it. 6 discoveries to activate GirlDad Awesomeness. There's on your mark.
Here we go.
Now we're going to get set. So let me just start by asking, at the beginning of your book, you write literally, I don't know if you call it like a call out, or if you just want to kind of give a prophetic word ahead to your daughter's future husbands. What had you start there?
Yeah, I dedicated this whole project to the dads of my daughter's future husbands. So I pray for these young men who are being fathered today. And I pray for their dads today. And now I don't know them. I don't know their, maybe I do. But I am separated from these dads by potentially 10, 15 years because of the age, 20 years. But I'm praying for them. And I pray every day for the young women that I get to raise, their future husbands, and what the person that has the biggest influence in those young men, those boys today, is that dad. And I just praying that they'll have strength, that they'll know that they're loved by God in heaven, that they will have friends that are cheering them on, that they'll have courage to press in versus to numb out. And so that's who I dedicated the project to. And every page, every chapter I wrote, I had a picture of a dad on so the coaching cohorts I lead called the Accelerator. I always had a family, a dad and their kids, always on the right side of my screen, this family. So it's all written from a heart posture of prayer, but I was always praying for, these dads who are raising my future son-in-laws.
I love that. Again, your book is so unique. You even say 7 minutes a day, Dad. I'm not asking a lot, but I'm wanting to encourage you, like you just said, to make those daily deposits into becoming a better dad, and it will yield dividends down the road. And Jeff can be a coach, a mentor, a friend, a brother to come alongside you. And that's even what he's doing here today. Well, I want to quote something else that you wrote in your book before we start with number one. But you said, the most significant transformation has happened in my own heart and home. The more I've invested in learning about fatherhood, the more I've grown to love being a dad. And my daughters feel the difference. I love that sentence, because daughters, we do. As women, we feel when a dad's heart is turned toward us. And you were saying to other dads, your kids can also feel that too. You're saying, come along with me. And you also say at the beginning, you're inviting dads to join a movement to refuse to drift through the treasured role of being a dad. And I love that. You're saying, Dad, come on. Don't make excuses. Don't delay. Let's go. Let's activate awesomeness. So how about we start with number one of the 6 discoveries you made from talking with over 1,000 dads across the country of the core 6 things that you believe make a dad awesome. Number 1, what is it?
Yes, story. Story is the first discovery. So I would describe these all as discoveries that we found along the way as we've distilled them. And story is the ability to see ourselves beyond the current chapter. So dad life is hard in the current chapter. And if we can't anchor back, this is a biblical principle too, like anchor back to God's faithfulness in early on in marriage or early on in the dad life or last year, look what he's done. I use my photo app on my phone to anchor back to God's faithfulness. These are things we prayed for in moments that we treasure and are so thankful for. And then forward, do I have vision like my Apple stock story? Vision for my grandkids, vision for, like even an exercise is imagine deeply your 80th birthday. What do you hope is true? And that if you can really visualize forward, that's going to help design your values and your principles and your rhythms today that will get you there. So the ability to pan out as a dad beyond our current chapter, it gives us so much more strength. And it gives us hope, which we need hope as dads. And so that's the concept of story is so important in fatherhood.
So is it about, you talk in there about crafting your own family story. So is story not only like even knowing your own story, your family history? Because I could tell you honestly, I've been asking my dad questions about his family history more in the last 6 months than in probably my whole life. And the response I get is, that's old news. That's the past. It doesn't really impact me today. And I'm saying your story really matters to me, Dad, because one, I either want to break off generational strongholds, but also I want to know where I come from. And so that's not necessarily the angle you have in it, but I wanted to just ask a little bit more about how does a dad craft a family story?
Yeah. So, the visual of a family tree, right? And that it's so rich with, there are people that have been faithful and have brought strength to allow me to create my own forward, right? So to know their stories, to understand, to even like you mentioned, praying, the prayers that I prayed this morning have to do with like, no, this is, this will go no further when it comes to
Ah,
the generational curses, when it comes to lies that people have, that others have believed. No, not in my home, not in this property, not in the lives of my 4 girls. So
awesome.
I agree. There is that side. We use a simple exercise called the 7-minute slice. And so I created this for our coaching groups, and it's basically in 7 minutes, reflect and share with the group highs and lows. So mountaintop moments in your life and valleys as a son. So growing up as a child,
Yeah.
as a son of God's, your faith story. What are some of the highs and lows? And as a dad, parenting your kids, what are some of the high moments and low moments? And what comes out in 7 minutes? And it's not their full story, it's a slice.
Right, right.
But it is wild. The group, every time someone shares, I receive more courage, more wow. Like I can show up for my girls with more strength because I've heard the story of somebody else. So story also applies by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, we will overcome. This biblical promise. Like we need to share stories to bring strength to other dads in our sphere. And this is where brotherhood, and we get into that with more with intentionality and leadership, these other discoveries. But story, it does set it's the backdrop for everything else we do, is knowing it's perspective, and it's no, my actions today are writing a story that impacts my great. In fact, I have a spreadsheet that show my 4 girls, their 4 future husbands, and then them having kids when they're like 26 years old, and then their kids having kids when they're 26 years old, and it goes out. You can adjust the metrics of the spreadsheet, but in 124 years, okay, 124 years.
124 years.
It's over 600 just for now that's with a factor of 4, which is maybe aggressive. Maybe aggressive. Maybe if it's 3, it's about half that. It's about 300. But can you imagine just from the seeds planted and having a vision, a story-driven, purposeful way that I approach fatherhood? Like that's the effect.
And some of you listening grew up in a home where you don't tell the stories. You don't air the dirty laundry. You don't go there. And depending on your age, that may have been how you were raised more then than now.
Yeah.
But we live in a generation where if you turn on television, there are train wreck stories all the time. We call them Real Housewives or reality TV. Yeah. They're not reality. They're scripted. But what that tells me is we live in a generation that sometimes wants to see a story that's more of a train wreck than our own, but there's no redemptive ending. Dad, you get to tell a story of what you learned the hard way that no one taught you. And for example, in my book, Let's Talk, Conversation Starters for Dads and Daughters, not just to try to do a pitch here, but saying my last chapter is Lead Your Daughter to Listen, where you hand her the book and there are scripted questions she can ask you about your story. And that's where a lot of resilience is built into the heart of a daughter, especially. Of course, sons too, when they hear what you've overcome, what you've learned the hard way, what no one taught you that you wish you would have known. But I love how Jeff is championing that same goal with your children and with other dads. And what I would say too is we have so much more. We could talk about every one of these 6 things, but that'll be our teaser to say, dads, you want to learn about stones of remembrance? There's a little hook, a little teaser. Get Jeff's book. Okay, number 2. First one is story. That's one of your discoveries. About girl dad. I'm making it just about girl dads today. Girl dad awesomeness. What's your second discovery?
Yes, identity. Know who you are. As a dad, knowing my identity, knowing that I am loved by God in heaven before I try to show up as a loving dad for my girls. Knowing and being steady and confident and certain. I know who I am. The way that I show up is not I'm not going to bob all over the place based on the circumstances of this morning's chaos because I know who I am. I know who I am. So I use the story of take a walk to the waterfall of God's love. Take that hike up to the waterfall of God's love. Get soaking wet. Understand and experience, get immersed, and then go give your girls a hug. Go give your daughters a hug.
Oh, What's going to happen?
What's going to happen is they're going to get wet. They're going to get wet. And truly, if we're trying to portion out little bits of God's love, little bits of our own love, like the scarcity approach, man, it ripples into the hearts of our kids. The abundance approach, which is our identity as loved sons of God. What happens is we raise kids that are certain and they're steady and they're not going up and down based on I performed well today, so I received love from my father today. And so the conditional versus it's massive. And identity is it's the springboard into kind of our action as dads.
I literally had a counseling session yesterday with a 17-year-old young woman who said, I quote what you just said. She said, my dad is really good at applauding what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What I'm doing in sports, how I'm doing as an athlete, how I'm doing as a student. But she says, I don't feel like I ever hear much about my character. So this identity formation that we as daughters get from a dad, yes, women matter, but your identity is formed often from your father. And so if you're a dad that didn't have a dad that built into you much confidence because you didn't hear those words, one of the things Jeff is saying is open the word of God, because he's pouring like a waterfall truth about who you are as a son of God. But say one more thing about this before we go to break, Jeff. What are dad declarations?
Yeah, so we can receive and read, like you just said in the Bible, all of these promises, and we can speak them contextually to the age of our kids. We can speak declarations from a dad into the hearts of our kids. So we get to actually receive promises like you're a loved son of God. It's a receiving. And I get to go to my girls and say, no matter what you do or say, no matter what happens next year, what happens tomorrow, I will always love you. You are loved because you are mine. You are my daughter. Like these, and we often light a candle when we do these declarations. We do these bedtime blessings. And it's just a moment for me to say, you are beautiful inside and out. I'm using my voice, but I'm also, they're seeing in the candlelight, my eyes shining with, it's felt to the depths of their hearts how much their father loves them. And it's purposeful. It takes about a minute with each girl, and then they blow out the candle afterwards. So dad declarations, there's a whole series of them in the book, but the heartbeat there is taking truths and delivering them with your full presence to the heart of your daughter.
I love that so much. I literally had a download when you were saying that, Jeff, that I've never thought of. If you're a dad that says, I'm not so good at words, I don't think I could come close to what you're doing, Jeff, but great ideas. Is perhaps, I've literally never thought of this. I got a download while you were talking. Holy Spirit's here. Is you could take your daughter's name and use each letter of her name as an acrostic.
Perfect.
And you could say, like, her name's Clara, you're courageous or compassionate. L, you're loving. I mean, that might be a shortened version to just put something in motion today, because you guys know I end with a go step at the end. Jeff's giving you lots of them as we go. You'll probably play this on repeat, but these might be some practical ways that you can put your love for your daughter into action this week. Okay? Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue 6 discoveries to activate Girl Dad Awesomeness. We'll be right back.
Are you a dad who has ever desired a deeper connection with your daughter, but haven't known how to go about it? Let's Talk Conversation Starters for Dads and Daughters is the very resource you need. Dr. Michelle wrote it with you dads in mind. This book will support you with scripted questions, equip you to decode your daughter, and inspire you with stories of other dads and daughters. Don't wait any longer to be the hero you want to be and that your daughter needs you to be. So, to let the talking begin, head on over to drmichellewatson.com/books and order your copy today. This book will become a favorite in your fathering toolbox and will give you the answers you've been looking for. That's drmichellewatson.com/books. Now, back to the Dad Whisperer podcast.
Welcome back. I'm here today, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, with my dear friend, Jeff Zaugg, who I affectionately call just Zaugg. I think a lot of people just go by your last name because it's so awesome. And so today we are talking about 6 discoveries that Jeff made as he traveled the country, talking to other dads and going, I'm seeing these themes that would help dads understand how to be even more awesome in their role as a dad? I think we got to bring that word back. It used to be kind of, right, 70s awesome. We had stickers.
So true.
I'm old
So
enough to remember that, but you're bringing it back.
Let's
Okay.
go.
First one is story. Second is identity. What's the third way that you discovered that a dad can be awesome?
Yeah, the third one is intentionality. And most people think, when they think of the ministry Dad Awesome, they think of, be an intentional dad, be an intentional. We found that it can't stand alone. Intentionality is huge, but it can't stand alone without anchoring to our story, without knowing our identity. And then the next discoveries that follow. Intentionality is what you would guess it is. It's calibrating, like, man, I could set more of my time here, more of my resources here, more of my energy here. Developing, building friendships that we talked about earlier. Like, that's an area of intentionality. Marriage. We have a whole chapter called marriage. Husband Awesome. Husband Awesome, which basically is like,
that. You have creative chapter titles. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you. If you can't step in and be dad awesome without tending to the most treasured, covenanted relationship you have with your wife. So there's so many facets. It's so important. You have to hear the voice of God to know what area. You will be discouraged as a dad all day long if you're like, I have to do this, I have to do more of this, I have to do more of this. Now, it's important. I take a day once a month to look back 30 days, say, God, where were you moving? Where can I give remembrance? Where can I praise and thank him? And then where do you want me to calibrate forward? So I do some assessments on what are some areas that I really want to move with purpose in the next month. But we can't beat ourselves up by saying, well, I ranked 2 out of 10 on all these areas. So what am I doing? So intentionality is a prayerful process to discern in this chapter, where can I press in? And instead of being a dad of intent does not glorify the Lord at all. Intent does not change the life of our kids and their future marriages. Intent is just a hope, a dream, no action. We actually have intentionality is purposefully changing the game in some areas, because that's what we can do as dads. We can actually bring change. And we say it starts with curiosity. Are you curious? Are you, when you walk through your home, when you return, do you have a curiosity lens? And then the second core thing is watchfulness. Do I carry a heart as a dad who fights for my girls? And watchfulness means it's beyond curiosity. It's actually through my prayers. I'm going to be watchful through my actions, through my choices. And these things cascade down into the other areas of intentionality.
And you know what I want to add to that is when I heard you saying, okay, husband awesomeness, there's most likely a lot of dads listening that said, I either haven't been an awesome husband, so who am I to now cast a vision for my daughters, for their future mates? Look at the example I've set. Or currently, I'm not a great husband. What would you say to that dad that's already defeated and saying, I hear what you're saying, but I don't even know how to do that from where I'm at and where I've been?
Yeah, our children are the most resilient and have hearts that are ready to turn back to you in the area of watching you in your marriage. So if you feel like you've missed it, the next chapter, this week, this month, this year, we have the ability, because of God in heaven and his forgiveness, we have the ability in all of these areas of our life to not let the whispers of shame and disqualification. We're not going to listen to that whisper, because there is hope from God in heaven. There's hope for you and your marriage. Like, it is incredible what an apology does. Like, when we say, when I say I'm sorry to my wife because I did this, and then sometimes I need to go to my girls because they've seen an interaction that I didn't model for them, what I pray is true about their future marriages. So I go back and apologize to them. The humility to say I'm sorry. Yeah. It cascades into all areas we'll never even know the depths of impact when a dad apologizes. So I think it starts with, to be husband is to realize I'm not going to be that dad who listens to the whisper of I'm disqualified. And I have hope that I can build something for the future, that this last chapter won't even be remembered. My kids won't even remember the last chapter of my marriage. And my wife will look back and be able to laugh at the days of old because she has so much confidence in my love and my pursuit of her. So yes, that's most of us don't feel like we're killing it in the area. We would not describe ourselves as awesome husbands, but it is a posture and a direction, not a landing point.
I love that. And if you're a dad listening that says, I need more support to build hope, to build more intentionality, right? You can reach out to Jeff. You can reach out to me. Both of us have coaching, ministries, counseling, supporting dads, and we both love that. So you don't have to go this alone.
Yeah.
drmichelewatson.com, dadawesome.org. We're here for you. Okay. Number 4, what's the next discovery you made? How can a dad be awesome?
Yeah. And before I tell you the name of it, picture a hand grenade. Picture a hand grenade and our ability as dad to hand this with the pin pulled and it will go off. If we don't make conscious decisions, prayerful decisions, a heart turn towards healing, forgiveness, if we don't pursue freedom. So freedom is the 4th one, freedom. There will be shrapnel that goes off and brings pain into the lives of our kids, our marriages, our friends, shrapnel that carries forward 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Now, I don't say that to say, look what you've done. Not at all. Freedom is, and we're not talking about freedom like the world says. The world, freedom has been this word of like, do whatever you want. You're free
no
to
boundaries,
be you.
no consequences.
You make your own. You make your own, whatever. Freedom, biblical freedom is the heart of a servant. It's the heart of forgiveness. It's the heart of God's grace. Biblical freedom is actually putting ourselves within the constraints of God's word so that we can live the free life, the life to the full. So freedom is a healing process. Wow. It's a stepping out of hidden sin to bringing things to the light. It is a receiving God's love and saying, that's not for me. I'm going to men who are stuck, dads who are stuck in sexual sin, it's impossible to move your heart to turn to your kids. The Malachi 4:6 turning of hearts to kids, we actually can't do it if we're stuck in darkness. So God actually, there's so much hope here. Freedom, dads who walk in freedom, it's the setup for everything else to flourish of these core 6 discoveries to be girl dad awesome. Freedom is an invitation that we all get to step into. And it's not a long drudgery process. It's actually the stories I tell in this chapter. Freedom is fun because look what it leads to. Yes. It's a path of being able to be of wholeness and healing that I actually can, the levels of strength that we can show up to when we're walking in the light for our kids. It's like crazy to try to think about being a dad while hiding secrets. So yes, freedom is the next one.
Okay. Speaking of the stories in there, you've got to just tell the story about the Sharpie and Wisconsin Lake and the rock.
Oh yeah.
Because forgiveness and release, both of us are saying, I've had a daily practice for the last 6-7 months where I have 6 people in my family that daily I'm forgiving. And I'll be honest with you, one of them includes my dad. And I'm saying what I'm forgiving, and I send it to the cross.
Yes.
And then I pray number 6, 24 through 26, to bless now the places where I've been hurt, to reverse the curse, if you will.
Wow.
And so when you say this is freedom, it's not if we've been hurt, it's when and where we've been hurt. And if God didn't give us a way to be lightened, we couldn't walk forward. So I'm just resonating with everything you're saying, but I gotta have you tell the men that story because it's really a powerful action step that maybe some of them need to do today with their hurts.
So I had been encouraged from a conversation with John Tyson, who's written so much for fathers. He encouraged me to write a letter to my dad, and my dad had passed away the year before I wrote this letter. He's been in heaven now for 6 years. And my dad is amazing. I had a whole side of the piece of paper was, Dad, thank you for this. Thank you for this. Dad, thank you for this. The other side of the piece of paper is, Dad, this caused some heartache. This caused some pain. And you list those things. And thank God I had a chance to just about everything on that other side to healing with my dad around those areas. So praise God for that. But I had this letter, and I turned the letter into Sharpie words on a large rock the size of a laptop. And I was in northern Wisconsin, and I snuck away from a family gathering. We had just celebrated my dad's life at this family gathering, put his ashes in the lake, and I swam with this rock. This heavy rock, I mean, maybe 20 pounds. I swam with the rock out to the middle of the lake.
Fitting metaphor for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It is to swim with one arm, gripping the rock, and one arm trying to tread water and swim, just barely catching breaths. And I, of course, could drop it. If I was drowning, I could drop the rock. But I was able to get out, several hundred yards off the shore. And I'm praying and swimming. I'm like, God, thank you for my dad. God, thank you. I bless him. God, thank you that you've taken all of the shortcomings, because no dad is perfect. And you have been there in those places, and you offer your love and your grace. And I said, God, I give you all these areas of hurts and pain. I trust you. I forgive him. I bless him. And I opened my eyes and I dropped this rock, and it tumbled into the darkness of this lake. And then I swam for the shore, and my swim back, the joy, the peace, forgiveness releases. You get just drenched with the love of God. And I'm swimming in lightness. And dads who are trying to tread water with a rock and trying to bring love to their families, like, we need to release pain from our dad wounds, which is really true for a lot of us. There's pain there, and forgive ourselves for the dad that you were in the last chapter, the husband you were. Forgive yourself. Because God has, so we don't have to walk in shame. And then you get to emerge and swim with lightness and be like, I'm a different, I laugh more. I dance more. I sing more. I'm a different dad because I'm not carrying the weight forward. So that was the story of the rock.
Oh my goodness. We could keep talking so much more about every one of these, which is why your book is so powerful. Okay. Now we're to number 5. What's the fifth way that a girl dad can be awesome?
Yes. Well, this is everyone's favorite. And truly, this is from the genesis moment of this mission of Dad Awesome. Wonder is the 5th one, and it's the how. It is the how. There's all the what's, there's the whys, the how is wonder. And it is our shiny eyes convey the world to our kids. When I show up saying, I delight in fatherhood, this is a gift from God in heaven that I get to be a dad. I get to be a dad. It's a gift.
I get to.
And it's hard sometimes, but it's a treasured gift that I've chosen to put in the category of one of the greatest treasures of my entire life is this role. It's felt for my girls. And of course, marriage is also a treasure. It's a pursuit. Pursuit is huge around wonder. We do crazy things for love. When I dated my wife, I did crazy things to pursue her. Well, let's do that today in our marriages and for our kids. Let's show up with wonder, with delight, with making sure they know. And I use this phrase, I love that I get to be your dad. I love that I get to be your dad, and telling them that. I love that you are my second daughter, and I get to that you are my only second daughter, and you're my favorite second daughter in the entire universe. I love you to the moon and back times 5 billion times. And I just over and over these types of things.
And you know what I can tell you as a woman? Your daughters, your wives, even your ex-wives, you can bless them, it's never too late to start, and she'll never get tired of hearing the things you tell her. Never. Wow. And so you may think, oh, I already did that this week, or I already told her these things last night when I tucked her in. She'll never tire. And your daughter is looking in your face, looking at your eyes to get a reflection back of who she is. And she's reading your eyes all the time, very much more than your son's. And so your eyes, as Jeff just said, are conveying a message that is really, really important. And so for you to be able to look in her eyes while you say these things, it's a win-win where she will internalize your view of her. I guarantee it. Wow. Okay, what now is the drum roll, the 6th discovery you've made of how a girl dad can be awesome?
Yes, the last one is leadership. And there's a whisper that says, man, you're doing enough, Dad. You're leading yourself. You're living with discipline and purpose. You're growing. That's enough. And then, you're leading your family. You're being a purposeful, intentional, awesome dad. That's enough. And the whisper says, that's enough. Keep it within the walls of your household. What do I have to give to another dad? What do I have to give? I'm doing enough here. In fact, the world will celebrate your family, your church. You're being an awesome dad by lead yourself and lead your family. Awesome. Well, as I've for 8 years traveled the country, 550 nights of living in an RV, hundreds and hundreds of churches connected with, I asked dads, when was the last time someone invited you to a campfire around being an awesome dad? When was the last time that someone led a group in your church? Do you have any groups in your group directory around helping dads be awesome dads? The answer is 0. You're the first one to invite me. You're the first one, because the world has said, who are you to help another dad? You have all kinds of ways you're stumbling yourself. Who are you to help another dad? So we listen to this whisper and we never go help others. We say DA +3. You are dad awesome. who's your plus three? This is not a mega ministry you have to launch. If you can just help three other dads, and we even designed the book to go through in 6 weeks. You don't have to read every chapter. You can read a couple of the chapters in each section, talk about these core discoveries. By just inviting three other dads into a process, you might be the first one to say, I'm going to bring my vulnerability, my heart. I'm going to bring my need for prayer, but I care about being an awesome dad and I see it in you. That's why I'm inviting you. It's not because you're bad. I actually see in you. So when you say you're plus three, you're calling out greatness, saying, hey, come grow with me. We want to be dads who grow. We're not going to settle. We are pioneers who are entering new chapters of hard dad life. Will you be with us? Let's do this together. Then you get to celebrate the miracles. When you're in a group, your dad wins. You get to celebrate their dad wins. So leadership this is the multiplication work. Fatherhood as a movement, there's a fatherhood crisis, an epidemic of fatherlessness. If we don't go to multiplication and release you dads as leaders, if we don't release you beyond your households, the world will not change, and kids, the generations will not experience a loving father whose heart's turning. So leadership is huge.
And you end with that exclamation point because throughout the book, you're saying, I want this transformation process to happen in you and through you. And now you get to take a step forward, not in perfection, but in being intentional and committed to starting where you are. And you'll look back a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, and say, I took steps forward. And in the 10 years that I led groups in Portland, Oregon, right, with dads of daughters, every single year I watched these men build their competence, which then built their confidence. But they didn't start saying, I know everything I'm doing, but every one of them took action. Wow. Every single man, they showed up, which you're saying, get the book, show up, read truth, internalize it, talk about it, admit your flaws, make amends with your dad. Even if your dad has already gone to heaven or he's not on earth anymore or not in your life, you can still do amends work and have healing and forgiveness in your own life. But Jeff has laid out this course of ways that you can, that's what I've never read a book like yours, Jeff, that has so much action in it. I mean, this book is so you on a page because you're like, we're going to jump off a cliff. We're going to skydive. We're going to cold plunge. Like let's do it, man. And you guys were made for this. Yeah. I mean, I remember years ago watching a Nightline show where it was a boot camp for men and they're getting yelled at just like as if they were in boot camp for a week. They're cut up with barbed wire and muddied faces and hair pulled out and scratched and getting, these higher ups screaming at them. And so they were asking the obvious question is, why are you doing this?
Right.
Every time they put the mic in the guy's face, you know what he would say? To prove that I can. You have to have hard things to prove that you can do it. And you're made by God for this through the power of the Holy Spirit. Well, Jeff, we could talk forever. Review the 6 things here at the end.
Yeah.
So guys,
we're gonna know our story, see the bigger picture. We're gonna be sure of our identity as loved sons of God. We're going to live with intentionality. We're gonna purposefully live with intentionality. We're gonna walk in freedom. The how is wonder. We're gonna delight in fatherhood, and we're going to lead. And by leadership, DA plus 3, you can just grab 3 other dads, and leadership is the accountability mechanism for you to keep growing. As soon as you invite others in, you will keep growing, and your kids will know, my dad leads a dad group. Well, of course he has to stay humble and keep apologizing when he messes up because he leads a dad's group. Yeah. So yes, that's the 6.
And you guys can go to dadawesome.org to find out more. Okay. I always end with one go step, which you've had many of them in this whole conversation, but I want to ask you one final question, Jeff. If you were to encourage a dad today to take one step forward today to be an awesome girl dad who refuses to drift, in his commitment to be the best father he can be, where would you tell him to start right now, even in the next 5 minutes in this day?
Hearing the voice of the Lord is everything. And this go step is to take quiet time away from your phone, go sit on a park bench, go sit in a library where you're not going to have distractions, get out of your home, listen and just ask God, would you just whisper, put an idea in my mind? It's not, don't over spiritualize this. Just, would you bring an idea? Father, give me, what is your next step for me as a dad? what do you want to tell me about my identity? It's just simply hearing the voice of the Lord will take everything we've shared and every hope that you have and multiply it by 1,000,000. Okay. So hearing God's voice is your action step.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. That so resonates with my heart and my spirit. Well, today on Your Mark has been 6 discoveries to activate GirlDad Awesomeness. I've been here with my friend, Jeff Zaugg. He's given his heart, his life to share with you, to give resources to you as dads. And I encourage you to reach out to him and to get his book. Tell everybody the name of your book before we close.
It's called Dad Awesome, and you can find it at dadawesome.org or on Amazon or any of the other places. So thanks, guys.
We have said that phrase so many times. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the Dad Whisperer, signing off and encouraging you, Dad, to make today a day where you intentionally and consistently invest in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. If you're looking for more resources to support the father-daughter relationship, or if you want to connect personally with Dr. Michelle, you can find all the information you need at drmichellewatson.com. That's drmichellewatson.com. And remember, you can listen to the Dad Whisperer podcast anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and while you're there, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the next edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.